Hey everybody, welcome back to How to Build a Blog with Laravel. I'm your host, Jacurtis. You guys can call me Alex. And in this video, we're going to be kind of finishing up our authentication. We've already kind of basically done everything with the authentication. Now it's time to work on something that every application needs. Inevitably, someone's going to forget their password, and you need a way for someone to reset their password without bothering you or having you manually do it. And so we're going to use Laravel's built-in authentication system to automatically reset our passwords. It's pretty easy because Laravel has it all built in. Let me show you guys how. All right, so now it's time to work on resetting our password. We already have the basic authentication set up. We've learned how to block certain controllers or actions or URLs and stuff like that. We've got all the views and routes set up so you can log in and register. So we basically have our registration system or our authentication system on a basic level. Now the next kind of advanced feature that we need to work on is our password resets. But luckily, Laravel does this built in. It's already part of Laravel. It's really, really easy to do. All we need to do is create a few views and create a few routes to tell Laravel to go to the right places. But the controller actions are actually already in place to make this super easy to do, okay? So let's go ahead, just take a look at our project here and go ahead and get started so that we can get those passwords reset, all right? So first things we need to do is, I just want to take a look real quick at our migration that we created a while ago, just to identify what's already been created in the database. So if we come down here to actually our database and the migrations, I think it's the second migration, is our create password resets table. So this is the migration that creates a special table in our database that stores who is resetting their passwords. In this table, we have a column for the email address. We have a column for a special token. And then we just have a created at when we created the password reset, okay? So what this table basically does is we need to create a form in our Laravel application where someone can type in their email address, okay? When they click submit, Laravel's gonna check to see if there's someone with that email address in our users table. If there is, they're going to send an email to that email address, and it's going to generate an automatic token and store it into this database this table that we have right here, the password resets table. And then obviously it's going to be timestamped for when that exists. The user is then going to we're going to shoot off an email to the user. The user is going to get an email with a link that says reset your password, click here. That link is going to include that special token, okay? So as they click that link, it's going to go back to our Laravel project, and we're going to use that token to identify that we have the correct, the person is authorized to reset this password, okay? And Laravel's going to do that by matching up the token with the token that's stored in the database. From there, it's a basic, we're going to type in a new password. It's going to update the user table, the password column in the users table, and that's going to effectively reset that person's password. And then to finish it all off, Laravel just logs the person in as soon as they're done. Okay, so that's basically what happens behind the scenes. And we don't need to worry about a lot of it because a lot of that controller functionality is already built in to Laravel. Now we can take a look at where that is. I just want to show you guys where it's at so you know where all the magic happens, because you need to understand how these things piece together. You don't just want to know, oh, I can click this one button and it just happens magically. I don't know how. You guys really want to know how it's working behind the scenes. So if you come over to app, HTTP and controllers, we have a controller inside of our auth called password controller. Now you'll see that there's not a lot in here, and so you're probably wondering what all is going on. You can see that you need to be a guest in order to be in here, which makes sense because we don't need logged in users resetting their passwords. They already know their password theoretically. So everything in the password resets is protected by the guest middleware. You have to be a guest to reset your password. But there's no other functions. But really the functions are there. They're just inherited from Laravel source code. So we can see up here that we're using this Illuminate Foundation auth and resets password. And that's where all these functions really exist. So let's head on over. Let's take a look at our files over here. If you go into the vendor file and then there's a Laravel folder, framework, source, and then we can just follow the structure here. Illuminate, foundation, auth, reset password. Okay, so back down here, illuminates, foundation, auth, and then there should be a resets passwords. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on that and take a look at this real fast. You can see in here that this is actually where the functions exist. So we can get this person's email. We can actually send the request email, and all these functions are stored inside of this source here. Okay, so that's where the controller is inheriting all these files. So we don't actually need to write any of the logic because all the logic is stored right in here. I'm not going to go over all of it, but you guys can kind of see what's happening behind the scenes. If you come into this file structure, you can view and read the code yourself. Now let's do what we need to do in order to take advantage of the password resets now. And that's basically we just need to set up a few routes and we need to create a few views for the forms and stuff like that. So let's do that in this video, and then we're going to test it and set up. I forgot the other thing we need to do is set up an email so that our application can send email. And we're going to be doing that with a service that I'll get into in a second, which basically is like a development service that allows us to test sending emails within an application without actually sending them in real life. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing right now. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to close everything up. I'm actually just going to close all this source code. We don't need it right now. I just want to declutter our application. And what we need to be working on is, let's go ahead and we need to create some routes, and then we're going to create the views. So let's open up our routes file. You guys should know where that is. App, it's under the app folder, and then HTTP, and then your routes. And let's just go ahead and add it under our authentication routes. Okay, well, we have a registration. So let's do password resets. Password reset routes. Okay. And then there's a couple just little default routes that I'm going to post in the description so that you guys can look at it. And you're just going to follow these routes basically word for word. They're going to point to certain controller actions, and we need them to match up exactly. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, so the first thing we need is a post request. So we're going to do route post, and the post request needs to be password/email. Now the password/email is actually what's going to trigger off the email. So we're going to have our form, which we'll create in a second. And then, in fact, let's actually create that one first. We'll do route get, and then we'll do password/reset. And then we need to create a token in here that might, because when it generates the token, it'll automatically add the token at the end of password/reset and then / the token. And that's how we identify that someone's already authenticated via email. They have their token, and that's going to trigger Laravel to go match the token and display the correct view so someone can reset their password. Now, the reason I have a question mark here is because not every single time will someone have a token. Okay, so we are basically creating two URLs here. We're creating password/reset and password/reset/ any number at the end of it. Okay, that number will be our token, but the question mark right here inside of here indicates that this is optional, that the token might not exist. And so if it doesn't, then we're going to allow people to just do password/reset. Okay, but both of these are going to be GET requests. So this is the first one. This is kind of our main one that we use for resetting our password. Now the controller behind the scenes will automatically look and see if someone has a token. If they do, it'll obviously find it. And if they don't, it'll just display a form to show where someone inputs their email address. Okay, so all that's happening behind the scenes. We're just creating the routes for it. So we'll do password/reset/token, and then what we need to do here is we're just going to send it to our auth controller. So we'll do auth/auth controller like that, and then we're going to do not auth controller. We need password controller. Sorry, there's two different ones. Password controller, and then within the password controller, we'll do show reset form. Okay. And this corresponds with the file we just looked at. There was a show reset form action inside of there. We're pointing to that action, okay? So this is all we need for this one. Let's go ahead and just do a semicolon there. Now, the next one, we're going to actually trigger the email. Now, the email is going to be password/email, and then that one's going to go off to our auth/password controller like we can do right here. And then it's going to go to the send reset email, or sorry, reset link email. Okay, and that's going to go to that action. All right, I'll have all this in the description so you guys can copy and paste it if you'd like. And obviously all this is on the documentation as well. But okay, so we have password/email, and we're going to have auth password controller send reset link email. Don't forget the semicolon. And now the last one is actually going to be the if someone posts to password/reset. Okay, so we've got the get request for password/reset and the get request for password reset, and then the token. And now what we need is that when we post to that, we're gonna we need another route for that. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So we'll do route post password/reset, and then this one is gonna go to obviously our auth / remember, don't forget to use backslashes, by the way, guys, on these. We're not doing a forward slash, we're doing a backslash. Okay, so auth / and password controller, and then we're sending it to the reset like that. Okay, so those are the 3 routes that we need. Okay, now what we need to do, we've got our routes set up. We can actually run this real quick. Let's just do our PHP artisan route list. You guys should be pros at that. We run that all the time. All right, and now we should see our auth passwords. Right, there they are. Password email, password reset, password token, and you can see that where they're going, they all look correct, okay? So you guys can go ahead, just make sure that your routes match this. Now let's go and let's do our views. So we're gonna need 3 views, basically. We're gonna create 2 for the, one where we collect the email, and then one where we collect after you've clicked the link in your email and come back a second time, we're gonna create another form that has your email, your and then your password, and then your password confirmation. So that's what we're going to set up now. So we're going to do that obviously inside of resources views, and then we're going to create our views inside of the auth folder. And let's go ahead and create another folder inside here called passwords. Okay, now inside of our passwords folder, we're going to create 2 views. One is going to be called email.blade.php, and one is going to be called reset.blade.php. Okay, so we're going to create 2 of these views. One of these views, the email.blade.php, will be the first form that we see when we first click forgot my password, okay? So you're going to be on the login page, you'll see forgot my password, you'll click it, and when you click forgot my password, it'll take you to a little form that has, where you basically just type your email address in and then click forgot my password. That's going to then post to trigger the email to be sent, and then the email will be sent to your inbox. You'll receive a special URL with a token in it, and then that token, when you click that, will trigger a second view called reset.blade.php. And this is the form where you actually reset your password. You're going to have your you'll have your email, your token will be in there. It'll be hidden, but it'll be in there. And then you'll also have a password field and a password confirmation field, okay? And that'll be the second form we create, and that's reset.blade.php. So we'll have 2 views. Let's go ahead and just make those real quick. We're going to create new file, and we're going to save this one. We're going to call it email.blade.php. And then we're going to create a second one, and I'm just going to do both of them here real quick. Save this, and we're going to call reset.blade.php. Okay, so we got our 2 fields. The first one is going to be when you first click forgot my password, the email.blade.php is what's going to show, and it's going to just have a field that has your email address where you type in your email address, and then you click forgot my password, and it triggers the password. So this is a normal view like we've had in the past. So we can just do extends. We can have it extend our main file, and then we'll create a section. The section will have our title, and we'll do our forgot my password, like that. And, oh, we don't need a semicolon. And then we'll create a second section for our content. And then down here, we'll create an end section or a stop, whichever one you want. Okay, now let's go up here and let's actually create the form. So remember that we need to create a row, obviously, and then inside that row, we'll just expand this. Inside of that row, we can create our columns, okay, because we're using Bootstrap. I'm going to go ahead and just create 6 column wide piece, and then we're going to center it by offsetting it by 3, kind of what we've done in the past. So we'll do column MD6, create 6 columns wide, and then we'll do an MD offset 3, which just moves it over 3 columns, and that will center it because there's 12 columns total, 6 wide. The box will be 6 wide, and then that means 6 other columns. So if we just move it over 3, that puts 3 on one side, 3 on the other. That centers it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If not, this isn't the video to talk about Bootstrap grids. So you can go look at that somewhere else. Okay, next we've got, we're going to create another handy Bootstrap element, which is called a panel. So there's this cool little thing. If you make a panel, we'll do panel default for the style. And this creates just a nice little box, like a little container box with an actual border around it. Just kind of makes it look nice. And then we'll create another div in here called panel header. And this will just be like a top, a heading to our box where we can just put the title of it. We'll say reset password. Yeah, we'll just do reset password, and then we'll create our panel body, is what I believe it is, panel body, like this. And this is where we actually create the main content for the panel, for that panel element. Okay, so inside of here we're going to create our form, and we're going to be using the form helpers that we've used in the past. Okay, so remember that if you're not using form helpers, you need to be using a CSRF token. You need to generate that using this. You'll do CSRF token, I think is what it is. I think it's this. It's a field. I just double checked, guys, in case you were following along. I don't do this very often, so you're going to do CSRF field, and CSRF field is if you're doing the form by hand. So if you're actually going to do this type of form with HTML, you need to generate a CSRF field so that Laravel accepts the request after it gets submitted. Because since we're using the built-in Laravel fields, Laravel controller, it's going to automatically check that CSRF token. So if you don't have this CSRF field, then it's going to get rejected. Now, if you're following along with my tutorial, we use the handle, we do curly bang bang, and we do form open. And form open will automatically add the CSRF field, so you don't need to do it automatically. Okay? Now, inside of this form open, all we're going to do is give it a URL. And that URL is going to be, let's see, if we come back over here, we're going to send it to password/email. Okay? We're going to post to password/email. So let's go ahead and do that. Password/email. And we don't need to do post. If you wanted to, you could do method post. But it actually does this by default, so you really don't need to worry about it. Okay. Next, we've got, let's see, we need to create our token. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a hidden field. Or actually, I'm getting confused now. We don't need a token because we're just gonna show our email address because we're in email.blade.php. So we're just gonna open up the form. We're going to then have a field for our email address and then a button to submit the form. So what we need to do here is just create a label real quick, form label, and we're gonna call it email, and we're gonna have it, the value of it be email address with a colon like that, so it looks nice. That's just our label. And then we'll actually create the form field. We'll create an email field. So we'll do form email. We're going to call it email. And this, all right. And then the second field right here is we're just going to set to null. If we, the reason for this is just because this value is kind of like the default value that you want put into the field, but we don't have a default value. We just want it to be blank. So we set it to null. And then the third field is an array. And this is where you can put in the class that you want. So we're just going to do form control. Form control is the Bootstrap field. Just makes it look nice. And that's all we need for our email. Now all we need is a button to submit. So let's go ahead and just do form submit. And we'll just say forgot, or we'll just say reset my password. Reset password. And that'll be what the button says. So the button will be, we'll say that. And then let's just create a class, and we'll set class equal to btn for a button and btn primary, just to set the color of it. And then the final thing we need to do is just file close like that. Okay? Just go ahead and save that. And now we've got our first field complete. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually gonna save that. Let's boot up our server. PHP artisan serve, or however you guys want to do it. A lot of you guys are just ignoring me. Everyone that emails me doesn't use Laravel PHP artisan serve, I swear. And half the time that's your guys' problem. It makes it a lot easier to do PHP artisan serve. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so, but you can do whatever you got to do. Whatever you guys want to do, it's fine. Let's go ahead and open it up. Let's bring it over here. We're going to do localhost 8000. And we're going to go to login. Oh, I don't have a button for forgot my password. We'll have to add that. So we'll just have to go to password manually. We'll just go to password/reset. And you can see here it says reset password. And I wonder if we typed panel heading wrong, because that doesn't seem to be styled right. But you guys get the idea. It says email address. We type in our email address and we can click reset password. I don't think this will work just because I think we have a problem with our... Okay, we don't have a view for our email, so we'll get that set up in a second. But we've got our form is all set up. Let's just look at this heading real quick. Let's make sure that is spelled correctly. Oh, here it is, panel header. We need to say panel heading, not header. So click save, refresh. There we go, that's what we wanted to say. Reset password. We got our email address and our reset password. It'd be nice to have a little space around the button, so if you guys want to add that style, you can. I'm not going to worry about it though, just for this tutorial. All right, so that's our form for that. Let's go ahead and just create the next form for our reset.blade.php. We're going to follow along in this same kind of concept. Let's go ahead and copy all of this because we're going to create a very similar form. We're basically just adding a few extra fields, okay? So I'm going to come over to I'm closing email and we're going to go to reset.blade.php. I'm going to paste everything we just did. We're going to keep most of it the same, okay? So we'll just, the only thing we're going to do different is we're going to change the URL. The URL is going to go to, if we look at our routes, it's going to go to password/reset. Okay, so we're going to post it still, and we're going to go to password/reset, and that's actually going to reset the password. So we'll go password/reset like that, and then we'll just keep our method as post. That's good. The other thing we need to change in here is this time we're going to be adding a token. Okay, so we're going to create a hidden field. We're going to do form hidden like that. And we're going to call it token. And we're going to set the value to, Laravel's going to pass in a variable called token. Okay, and that's going to have the URL token. Because when you actually go to this view, in the controller, Laravel's going to look up the token that you gave it. And it's going to look up the token and find the email associated with that token. And it's going to pass in two variables into the view. It's going to pass in token and email, okay? And we're going to use both of those. And that's the token that was submitted and then the email address associated with that token. And then it's going to pass both of those in and we're going to put those into our field, into our form, I mean. So here's the first one. We're going to put token and we're going to add it to a hidden form field, okay? So the user won't see this form field, but it's going to be there and it's going to be submitted with the form, and Laravel's going to match it up before it resets the password and just make sure it's all valid. Okay, so we need to create this hidden form field. And then this is where we can type our email address again. The only difference we need to make is instead of null, we can automatically fill in our email address with the email variable because that's passed in from the controller. And then instead of a button to reset the password, we're going to create the password fields. So we'll do form password, and then we'll do we're going to call it password, and we're going to I think you just skip and you just add the class. So we'll do class, and then form control like that. Oh, and we need a label too. So let's go and do that. Form label, and we'll set the label to new password. Oh, actually, real quick, we got to make the first parameter of the label is going to be password because we need to match these two together. Okay. The second value is actually what we wanted to say. So we wanted to say new password. All right, like that. And then let's go ahead and create another one, form label. And this is going to be the password confirmation. So we call it password confirmation. And you do need to say password confirmation because that's going to match up with the controller. Okay, it needs to look like that. Okay, if you're in another language, it still needs to be that because Laravel's looking for it. So you don't change it to whatever you want it to be. It needs to match. All these names need to match. Okay, so password confirmation, and then we'll just say confirm new password. If you're creating this in another language, you can change these because these are what actually display to the user in the label. Okay, these ones right here. So you can change that to your language, but don't change these to your language. They need to match Laravel. Okay. Password confirmation or confirm new password, and then we'll create another field down here, form password, and it'll say password confirmation, and then the value will, we'll create an array class and set it equal to form control, just like that. Perfect. Everything else is good. We've closed our form. I think you technically need this, but I don't think it may not matter. So you need curly bang bang for your close, and everything else is good. Now we should be basically set. We've got our views, we've got our routes. The only last thing we need to do is create a view for our email address. And if you remember when I submitted this field, it said a view is not found, this auth.emails.password, okay? We need to create this view. Now, what's happening here is that it looks like it correctly found my email address in my account in the database. And now what it's doing is it's trying to send me an email. It's running into a problem because it doesn't know what to send. So there's a view. We're going to create the email. It's just like a normal Blade view. Okay, so we're going to actually be able to create emails like the visual look of an email using Blade, which is pretty cool. Now I'm going to keep it really simple, the email. We're not going to get like a super fancy HTML email, but it will be actually sent as HTML, but it's going to be very basic looking because I'm not going to go crazy on what it looks like. Now, in order to do this, if you come back and look at this, you can see that it's actually looking inside of a folder called emails, okay? So it's under auth and then emails and then password. So what we need to do is under our auth view, we need to create a new folder called emails. I believe it was emails plural, right? Yeah, it was emails with an S. And then inside of there, we need to create a new file called password. Yep, password.blade.php. So let's go ahead and save this. We're going to call it password.blade.php. And we're going to say click here to reset your password. All right, now this is where it can get tricky, guys. So let's see, bear with me real quick. What we're going to do is I'm just going to do a little break. And this is where we're actually going to create the link. So we're going to say, click here to reset your password, and then we're going to have a link to reset our password. Now this is where it's going to get a little tricky. Just bear with me. We're going to create an HTML link. Okay, so we'll have like an anchor tag with an href. Now inside the href, we need to generate a URL. All right, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to say link. We're going to create a parameter called link and set it equal to, and we're going to generate the URL here. Okay, this is just going to save us, so we only have to do it once. So we're going to use the URL helper, and the URL helper basically creates a URL by taking the base URL and then adding whatever we add to it after that. Okay, so we can just add password/reset, and then what we're going to do here is so you can see here what we're trying to do is we're generating this link right here. Okay, so Laravel's going to pass a token into this view, and then we're going to generate this URL. So we're going to generate password/reset, and then we're going to attach the token to it as well. Okay, now with this URL helper, it not only adds the base URL to this, so we can just do like URL password/reset, but if you add a second parameter like this, you can actually add like a parameter onto the end of the URL, in this case, the token. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the token variable like that. And then that would actually, I believe that actually works in Laravel. However, you can actually do something a little bit nicer if you want. And if you actually add a get parameter to the end of the URL with the email address in it, you can actually, Laravel will actually automatically fill in the email address into the field. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll add our token, and then we're going to attach, we'll just use the period to concatenate in Laravel, and we're going to attach our email. So we're just going to add email to our URL. Remember, we're still in the URL, and if you know get parameters, everything after the question mark is the get parameter is it's just a parameter that we passed in. So we'll say, so we're going to create our password reset, adding our token to the end. It's automatically going to add the slash, okay? It already knows that. That's what the comma will do. So it automatically knows to attach this to the URL and to add the slash. And then that'll generate our URL with our base URL, the token, and then we're just going to add the question mark with the email in it. And then we're going to actually attach the user's email address, okay? So we're going to do... then we're going to actually add the email address. So what we would do normally is you could do user get email for password reset. It's a nice little helper that Laravel has. But the thing is, we actually need to encode this. All right, so we're going to do URL encode like this, and we're going to encode the email address like that. Okay, and that should be everything we need. So we'll have that. So that's why the reason I saved this as a link is because this long URL is a pain in the butt to write, and we could just copy it and then paste it again right here. But instead, we're just going to actually add the link like that. Okay, so it's just going to attach the same thing we have up here. Now, the reason you put the whole link in here instead of just click to reset your password is in case someone only has plain text in their email address, then they can just copy and paste the URL into their browser. Or for some reason, it doesn't work. So that's why it's good to actually put the whole link in here instead of just like something like reset or something like that, okay? So hopefully that makes sense, you guys. We created a link and we generated this long link and it's set equal to that, all right? And that's all we need. That's going to be that's our email. Now, if you guys want to create some HTML emails, some cool stuff, some colors, you want to add CSS, go for it. You can do all of that in here. Just remember that coding for email is a little different than coding for web. But you can do all that in here. This is going to be just a really basic version of it, okay? So everything is set now. We should be able to reset our passwords. So let's go on and test it out and see what happens. So we're going to come back over here. Actually, the last thing we should do is let's create a link to forgot my password inside of this login field, and then we'll be done. So we're going to go views, and we're going to do login.blade.php, and underneath the submit button, we're going to create, let's see, we're going to just create a little paragraph tag, and it's just going to say and then we'll create an anchor tag in there. We'll send it to our route for, let's see, we can't do route. We'll do URL password/reset. Okay? And then we'll just say forgot password. Okay, just like that. Okay? Now let's come, did I save it? I did. Okay, refresh. You can see there's a link now for forgot my password. That takes you here to reset your password. I'm gonna type in a valid password. It's gonna go find that in the database and then try to send me an email. Now the problem is we haven't set up email sending in our application. That's the only thing holding us back from being able to reset our passwords. So let's talk about, really quick, let's talk about password, let's talk about email setup, and we're gonna be setting it up as a test environment basically, instead of sending live emails, okay? So let me show you how to set up the emails. Okay, so I'm gonna close all of the views, just clean up what we're working on. Okay, now in order to send emails in our application, we actually need to set up a few parameters for the application inside of our environment file. This is the same thing we did way back at the beginning in part 2 or 3, I think, when we set up our database. You remember how we went into our environment file, and this environment file isn't sent over to like GitHub or anything like that. It's usually hidden from GitHub and things like that. And it contains all of the very important parameters that make your application unique and that you need to keep secret, all right? So let's go ahead, look at the environment file, and then look at what we need in order to start sending emails. So we're going to come down here at the base of your folder. You've got a .env file. If you go ahead and click that, you can see that there's a lot of stuff going on in here. We've already worked on the database part, if you remember that. And we've already looked at this as well, that we're in our local database environment. We've got debug turned on. And then we also have our app key, which is used to like generate passwords and for different types of things for security. This is basically our security token. So you don't want anyone to ever have access to this information. There's a few other things for setting our cache and sessions. If you guys are using Redis, which is a database, caching database type thing, you can set that up in here as well. There's all sorts of stuff you can set up. Down here at the bottom, you can see that we have a mail driver. Now, the mail driver is how we actually set up email to come out in our application. All right, so we can actually send email from any type of server. You can either use different APIs. You can do an API is like Amazon Simple Email Service, the SES. Mandrill, if you've used that. Mailgun. SendMail, is that the one? SendMail is another one. There's a bunch of these different mailing services that you can also use that have APIs and stuff like that. And Laravel actually uses, for sending emails, instead of using the default send mail option of PHP, which is very insecure and always ends up in your or usually ends up in your junk folder, Laravel actually uses a library called SwiftMailer, which you may have used if you've been around the PHP world for a little bit. SwiftMailer is a really powerful just mail sending library, okay? And it supports lots of different things. It supports APIs for Amazon SES and Mandrill and stuff like that. And it also supports the most basic type of email, which is SMTP, or the most basic secure type of email, I should say. So SMTP allows you to basically set up almost any email really easily by just setting a few parameters. So what we're going to be doing here, you can see that the default driver is SMTP, and just understand that I'm not going into every, there's so much that we could talk about setting up emails sending in Laravel, okay? And I can't give you guys all of it in just one video. We'll have to do our own little video series about how to use, an application in order to send emails in a more complicated way. So we're going to keep it really simple in today's video. Also, I want to mention that I'm going to explain how to use MailTrap, MailTrap.io. I'm going to explain what it is and how to use it. And I'm going to give you guys a really quick and easy way to use Gmail. If you have a Gmail account and you want to send it through a Gmail account. And that's all I'm going to do in this video. I'm not going to go through every single mailing service because it's impossible for me to go through them all. And I honestly don't know how to do it because I haven't used them all. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of you guys are in other countries. And I think it's awesome, by the way, that you're listening from all these different countries. And I know in other countries, you're going to have different email providers that are more popular and stuff like that I don't know how to set those up, okay? But it's going to be pretty basic. You're going to be looking for your SMTP settings for whatever email provider you have. So go into Yahoo, go into MSN, go into Gmail or whatever, and look up your SMTP settings. And those settings you can basically copy over here into your environment file, and you should be able to set up SMTP sending through those types of mail services, okay? And then we're going to go through the API services in a later video, not in this series, in a different series where we talk about Amazon SES and a few other ones, okay, like Mandrill. I use Mandrill a lot. I really like Mandrill. They have changed their pricing structure, which I don't like. So I might not be using Mandrill as much anymore. But anyway, we'll talk about those in a future video. We're going to keep it easy and basic in this video, okay? Now, for those of you guys that want to set your email up to run through Gmail, which is probably the most popular email provider, which is why I'm going to offer it, because I use Gmail and I know how to set up for Gmail. And so I'm going to offer this, but please don't email me saying, how do I set this up for MSN or Yahoo? I don't know, okay? So don't email me with those questions because I don't know how to set up the SMTP for those servers. The way you do it is you're just going to fill in this host, your port, your username, and your password. That's how you're going to do it for all of these SMTP services. The thing is, you need to contact Yahoo or MSN or whoever your email provider is to get those settings, and then you're just going to put them in here, okay? I don't know those settings, so please don't send me an email asking me for it, okay? If you really can't figure it out, post a comment below, and it could help other people that might have some of those services, and you can explain, maybe paste a link that has a support page on where to find those settings, okay? Anyway, we're going to be using SMTP. If you're using Gmail, what you're going to want to do is you're going to do smtp.gmail.com. And this is at least for American Gmail. I don't know how other ones are. For the server port, the one that works for me is server port 25. For the username, you're going to put in your actual email address, okay? So you're going to put whatever your base email address is. When you log into Gmail, you type in an email address and a password. That's the email address you're going to put in here for your username, okay? You got to put the whole thing with the .com at the end. For password, you're just going to type the password that you would type in when you're logging into Gmail, and that's going to be your mail password. And for encryption, you need to type TLS, all right? And this should work for Gmail. Now, I had a little bit of trouble, and there is one little setting that you might need to do. And just go ahead and Google this for me, and I'll paste a link in the description is what I'll do on how to find this. What you need to do is you need to go into your account settings in Gmail, and you're going to have to allow less secure applications to access your Gmail, okay? If that is turned off, which it is turned off by default, if it's turned off, you won't be able to you'll get an error when you send it, okay? Because Gmail considers, because you're sending it from this local host, from a local email server, it's going to reject it because it's not going to look secure. So Gmail is going to automatically try to protect you, and it's going to block it. What you need to do is you need to go into your settings, and you're going to find at the very bottom, it says allow less secure applications, and you're going to turn that on, okay? And when you turn that on, it's going to allow you to send emails, okay? Now, this is how you set up Gmail. All right, so if you want to send via Gmail, this will send email from your Gmail account to your users. You may or may not want to do that, but that's how you can do it. That's one way to set up the email. Now, the way I'm going to show you is a service called MailTrap.io. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. And I'm just going to open it up over here. And let's go on over to MailTrap.io. Now, this is what MailTrap is. MailTrap's a really cool service that's actually free, okay? So it's free. And, you can pay for higher end services, but it has a really good free option that I've always used. I've never had to pay for it. And with the free option, what's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to create a fake SMTP server, and then it's also going to allow us to catch all the emails. So it's really cool, actually. So what you're going to do is it allows you to prevent accidentally sending emails to your users when you're in a test environment. That's why I love MailTrap, is because you can actually work with a live database with live email addresses, but instead of the test emails going out to your users, it actually gets caught into into this service, and you're going to view it, and it never gets sent out to the real users. So it allows you to test and develop applications really, really easily, and it also shows you all sorts of other cool stuff, like your spam score, allows you to read your email headers and do debugging and stuff like that. So it's really cool. Now, if you're over here, you can actually see I'm logged in. I'm going to log out real quick. What you're going to want to do when you get to MailTrap.io is you just want to click sign up now. And actually, real quick, I just want to show you guys, if you click pricing, you can see that there's different settings, okay? So I've always used the MailTrap free account. This is free forever. It includes one inbox, which is all you need really for testing. And then you can hold up to 50 messages in an inbox. You can send up to 2 emails per second, which is pretty fast. And basically, you just don't have forward rules and stuff like that. It's basically just lets you view the email inside of here instead of forwarding it to another email address, okay? But it's fine. That's all you need. This is honestly just fine. You guys don't need these paid plans unless you're going to be doing something on a more commercial scale. There's some advantages to these, but for this tutorial, you don't need them, okay? So you can click Start Now and then just sign up. I recommend logging in with your GitHub account. It's just super easy. In fact, if I click here, I click join using my GitHub account, and it just puts me right in there. And this is what it looks like, okay? So what we're gonna do here is you should have, when you first sign up, you're gonna have a demo inbox, okay? Go ahead and click your demo inbox. And when you first click your demo inbox, you're gonna see you've got some credentials, all right? And these credentials tell you how to set up your server in Laravel. So all the information you need is right here. Here's the host, here's the port, here's the username and the password, and then we're gonna add TLS as well for security. In fact, it's kind of cool because in these integrations, if you click Laravel, it actually tells you some of the settings that you can set up right here as well, which is kind of cool. But we're not gonna use that, we're just gonna use the environment file. So if I come back over here, you can see I've already got MailTrap.io set as my host. I've already got port 25. And now we just need to use a username and a password, and we're done. So you can see here port 25 works. Username, let's just copy this. And then let's come back over here, and we're gonna paste it in here like that. And then let's come back over here and let's copy our password. Copy. And then you're gonna paste it in here. Save. Now for all of those of you that seem to think you're gonna be tricky and you're gonna spam my little MailTrap account, I'm deleting this inbox as soon as this video is done. This inbox will be deleted. So if you use my information, it's just going to cause, you're just going to get errors basically. Okay, so you're not going to be able to spam me. That's kind of the other beauty about using MailTrap is that I can actually just click reset, and it resets all the information, puts new usernames, new passwords, and everything like that, and just protects your account, which is kind of cool. Okay, so we've got that. And then just make sure I think TLS is optional, but I usually do TLS for mail encryption. And that's all you need. Go ahead and save this environment file. Just make sure you got your settings correct. And then the last thing we need to do is set a default sending email address. And that's in our config file. So go ahead and click config, go ahead and click mail.php. And then you can see inside of here, if you scroll down, we've got our from. By default, the address and the name is null, but for some reason, I don't know why they even have this set up, because if you have no email address in Laravel, no from email address, it'll cause an error, basically, okay? So what you're gonna wanna do is just create an email address for testing. We'll do no reply at jacurtis.com. That's what I'll do. And then for my name, I'll just do Laravel app. Like that, okay? So this is inside your mail.php. Go ahead and save this file, and now we're done and ready to test it, okay? So let's come back over. Let's go back into our application, localhost 8000. Let's log in. Let's click forgot my password. We're gonna type in our email address to forget our password. We're gonna click reset. Okay, now actually I forgot that this is an error that you will get if you have not reset your server, okay? So we created our environment file, and every time you edit your environment file, you need to reset your server. So the reason I'm getting this error is because it's trying the credentials I had by default when I first set up the application. And I reset them in the environment file and saved the environment file, but I need to reset the server in order for the changes to take effect. And that's why I'm getting this error. So let's go ahead and come back over here, and I'm just gonna close our server. And then we're just gonna turn it back on and reset it. This should reboot the environment file, and now everything should work, okay? So now our new settings have taken effect. I'm just gonna go ahead and just refresh this page. Okay, now let's try it again. hello@jacurtis.com, and reset my password. Yay, okay, it reset. We really need to just set up some, flash messages in here so that we can see when something was successful, but it did work. And now we just need to check our email. So in order to check our email, if you're using MailTrap, all you need to do is come over to your email tab. You can see here that about a few seconds ago, I got an email. You can click it. And sure enough, it's localhost 8000, password reset, has my token, and then has my email encrypted, hello@jacurtis.com. Okay, so this is the email that people will get. It just says click here for your password. You click it, and it brings up our new form that we remember doing. hello@jacurtis.com. I'm going to create a new password that's different than my original. Like that. They need to match. We're going to click reset password. And it looks like we're getting an error in our route collection. And I actually remember why this is. It's because by default, when everything is done, Laravel will send it back to our /home. When everything's successful, it'll send it back to /home, which we don't have. So let's just change that real quick, that little error. But otherwise, everything is working. You can see it's successful because it sent us back to the home page. It just didn't. We just need to tell it to go to the right home page. But everything is working. So that's awesome. We're allowed to reset our password. And I know that because now if I come over here and I log out and now I log back in, I'm going to log back in with my old password, my old one, not my new one, and it's not going to work. So that you can see it doesn't match. Now I'm going to log back in with correct email, the one I just changed it to, and it works. Okay, so we know we're successfully changing our passwords. Now the only thing we need to do is just add those flash messages to our reset password field. Let's go ahead and just do that real fast. What we're going to do is we need to come over to our views, resource views, and we're going to go to auth, passwords, and then we'll start with email. And in our email, we're going to create, at the top of our form, we're going to check the status of our session, okay? Now, the Laravel password reset controllers will use this session status in order to send messages over. So we're just gonna see if there's anything in there. We'll just create an if, and we'll say if session status. We'll just see if there's anything in this variable. And if there is, we'll just create a little alert. Okay, so we'll do alert success. And then inside of here, we'll just output the session status like that. All right, so that should be good there. All right, so that's all we need. And now that should tell you when you reset the password. So now if we, is that saved? Now if we come and reset our password, it'll just give us that little notification. So I'll log out, I'll log in, forgot my password, hello@jacurtis.com. We'll click reset password, and now you get the session status. So it says we emailed you a password link. Okay, that's basically everything. You should now see, we'll see we've got a new email up here. Click here to reset your password. So we've got the new password reset link, and we can go through the whole process again. You can see it automatically added our email address. We can confirm our password. I'm going to change it back to my original password just in case I forgot. And then click reset my password. Oh, and we forgot to change the redirect URL. So for the redirect URL, I think we can actually do that by just going into our password controller, HTTP. And just like how in our auth controller, we have this protected redirect to, we can do the same thing in our password controller. So what we'll do is just right here under use passwords, we'll just create protected redirect to, and that should now just redirect us back there. So let's try it again. All right, let's try it one more time and it'll just be good. So if we go to log out, log in, we're going to forget my password. The cool thing about using MailTrap instead of like a Gmail is here, when I click hello@jacurtis.com, it's going to send me an email address to that user email account. However, if you're creating dummy accounts like Susan@example.com or something like that, it's really hard to test these email to make sure these emails are getting sent because you don't have access to that example.com email account, right? But using MailTrap, you're able to still catch those emails and actually see what they are. So you can actually test multiple users in your system, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and let's come back over here. We got a new password link. You can click it. And I don't think I showed you guys, you actually can click like analysis and see the spam report. It's got lots of information here. You can see if you're blacklisted. You can actually read the HTML source, all sorts of stuff, see the message headers and everything like that. So it's pretty cool what you can do with MailTrap, and it's free. So pretty cool and easy to use. Let's reset our password one last time. Click reset password. And now it sends us back to the correct URL, okay? So that's everything we need in order to get running. That was a long video, guys. I apologize, but I know there was a lot of information in there. I wanted to fit it all in one video, so it took a while, but we learned a ton, and hopefully you guys had some fun. We're going to be just wrapping up our authentication, start heading over to categories and tags in the next few videos after that, because that's going to teach us about using relationships in our database, which will be really, really cool to learn and to work with. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video.